Hello and good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're feeling grand all as well in your world. It's way too hot and I'm slowly melting. And as a result, this heat's put me in a t-shirt, which makes me very uncomfortable because I don't have my arms on display. But anyway, silliness aside, today's video, everybody, is going to be a comparison between the cheapest guitar I own and the most expensive guitar I own. I don't know why I'm pointing over there, because it's there. So, the cheapest guitar I own is my Squier Bullet, which I got recently and have fallen head over heels in love with. I love this guitar very much. As you can tell from the previous demos I've done with it, it's become a very good friend of mine. So, this guitar is awesome. So this is the cheapest guitar I own at this point in time. So that's the cheap. The most expensive guitar I own is this one here. This is my 1962 Fender Strat. Which, oddly enough, started out life looking like this. This guitar was originally Fiesta Red, like this, and it got refinished. But if you look in the back cavity, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let me just talk. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You can see the original Fiesta Red is still in the cavities. It's only in the cavities though. It's not actually under the black paint. It's just in the cavities. This guitar got stripped. And refinished black. Anyway, so yeah, but that's really quite cool. I like the idea of the fact that, like, you know, that is how this started out life, and I do love the fact that there's still Fiesta Red in the back, and I did try and restore that a bit in the cavity, but the black paint's too thick and it's too hard to get off. But anyway, that's beside the point. So today's vid is just going to be a comparison between the two. I'm just going to, in the essence of time, all I'm going to do is basically a clean set. I'm not going to do distortion in the comparison, because I think distortion, looking back at some other comparison videos, I feel distortion sometimes kind of muddies the waters, if you will. And everything kind of, as soon as you kind of just stick a distortion on something, everything kind of, not blurs, but the kind of tonality kind of normalizes between the instruments, if that makes any sense. Like for instance, if I put like heavy distortion on this guitar, it's not going to differ a great deal from that because of the way distortion works and, you know, compression and whatnot. So I don't know if that's anything to do with it whatsoever. I don't even know why I said compression. Anyway, but yeah, I'm not going to do distortion. I'm just going to do my cleanish kind of tone, which is basically just like my jackhammer, just pushing the front end of the MG. So yeah, it's just going to be a clean, and I'm just going to do the bridge and neck pickups only today as well. So you know, just in the kind of like the essence of time, so to say. That's not the right word at all. But anyway, so what you're going to hear is the 62's bridge pickup clean-ish, and then the Squier's bridge pickup clean-ish, and then the 62's neck pickup clean-ish, and the Squier's neck pickup clean-ish as well. And then I'm going to talk a bit about what this guitar has that one doesn't, and why this guitar is unreal in how special this guitar is. And although as much as I love that Squier, and my Squier is absolutely gorgeous and I do adore that guitar, there's something this guitar has that one doesn't have, and it's not because it's old. So it's not its age. It's something else, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, so yeah, without further ado, let's get on with it. Let's get on with the comparison between the 62 Strat and the Squier Bullet Strat. And, you know, also, let me know, people of the tube, let me know in the comment section below which one you preferred and why. What was it about whatever that, you know, really appealed to you? Like I said, there won't be distortion used at all. It's just going to be kind of a cleanish kind of sound. And I'm just going to use the same chord progression. And yeah, and try and make it as even and as neatly as possible. So they've both got gauge 10 strings on them, but both set up kind of as identical as I can get. You know, the only thing I'm sure someone will point out is the fact that the Squier's a hardtail and the 62's got a tremolo. Whether that has a massive impact, I don't really know. Because I've actually hardtailed this Strat. The 62 is actually hardtailed now. It's not actually set to do anything, because it freaks me out every time I go near the tremolo arm because of the wood's so old. And so this is actually I've hardtailed this off now. Anyway, without further ado, I'm waffling. I'm too hot, I'm a bit delirious. Let's get on with the video, shall we? Comparison video. 62 strap, bridge pickup first. Okie dokie, there we go, people of Tube. Just quick comparison between the two. Like I say, just clean-ish on the bridge and neck pickups only. I didn't go into middle pickups, I didn't go into 2 and 4. You can't get 2 and 4 on, like I say, you can't get 2 and 4 on the 62 anyway, it's the original three-way switch. But anyway, so, let's have a bit of a, well, I'm having a bit of a chat now. So, and also, I did come up with an intro jam for the intro. Where else would it be, Dave, you silly sausage. Anyway, I did come with an intro jam, and I was going to go into it in the intro with the 62, and then I was going to change to the Squire halfway through and do that kind of thing, but that never happened. I got carried away with that, and that was that. So I might do that at the end, because it's still sat in the ditto looper. I can see it blinking at me saying, play me! Okay, so that might happen at the end. There might be an outro jam to this video as well, and I'll do that on the Squire. I won't do that on the 62, because I did the intro on 62, it's only fair I do the outro on the Squire. So, but the rhythm guitar on this backing track is the 62. Anyway, that's not irrelevant. That's not important, Dave. Anyway, take a breath. Okay, so people of the Tube, let me know, which one did you prefer and why? Was it the Squire, was it the 62, and why? To me, I thought the Squire had a bigger low end than the 62. I thought the 62 was a lot more even in its lows, mids and highs, whereas I felt the Squire had more output and more low end. Tonally, they sounded very similar, I thought. I don't think they tonally sounded like massively different. They didn't, but I do think that the Squire had a bit more of a low end, you know, but they didn't kind of like sound a trillion miles off each other, you know what I mean? So, let me know in the comments section below which one you preferred and why. I want to talk about feel quickly, because these guitars feel totally different. If it was coming down to feel, they both feel gorgeous, but the 62 beats the Squire on feel. Not down to the body, it's down to the neck. The neck on the 62 is terrifyingly comfy. It really is gorgeous. There is something very special about it. And also the 62's neck, which I'll show you, well, I'll try and show you in a minute on camera. The 62's neck starts out really skinny and gets bigger as it goes down, whereas the Squire neck is very uniform all the way down. So from the 1st fret to like the 15th fret, the Squire neck kind of stays at one thickness, whereas the 62's neck starts off really skinny and gets bigger and bigger. And I'll show you that now, actually. So, let me see if I can do this. I'll try and hold the guitar as stable and as level as possible. Let's just do this as best we can. So, if I get that lined up as best I can, let's move back a bit, Dave, so the camera can focus. So, if you can see there, this is, so if I now bring the neck down on the Squire, if I get hold of the body actually, if I start bringing the neck down, hopefully you'll be able to kind of see. The neck is very uniform. It stays at kind of like one thickness all the way down. And again, this is not scientific, but hopefully you'll be able to kind of see. So you can see there, the neck's kind of one thickness from the first fret, well, second fret technically, all the way down to like where the neck joint is, near enough around the 15th fret. Okay, so the neck's quite uniform, whereas Mr. 62 here, if get it lined up again, I hope you'll be able to see, the neck on the 62 is skinny. Around that first and second fret, the neck is really, really skinny, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of see that. And as we go down, you can kind of see, I'm looking at the LCD monitor so I don't screw the shot up, but as we go down the neck, you can see it gets bigger. Whereas if we go back up, it really gets massively skinny towards that top end. Hopefully you can say, if you look where the orange cab is, that's where I can see the most difference. If you look at the orange cab, you can kind of see there it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the top end, it's really skinny. So, and because of that, this guitar is really comfy. I don't know why. There's something in that gradual, that gradual kind of like the neck getting thicker thing. It makes this guitar really, really comfy. And it's the only guitar I've got actually that does that. No, tell a lie actually. My Oswald John Strat does that as well. Because we actually took the specifications for that neck off this neck, and it's a really close copy. Anyway, so they both feel differently. The Squire does not tire your hand out, but it's not as comfy as that neck. It's not as near as comfortable as that neck. That neck is terrifying and comfy. It's like my friend Richard's 63 Strat, which I've been on the channel a few times. That you pick that guitar up and you're just like, where has this neck been all my life? It's absolutely stunning. So they both feel different. They both feel great, but the 62's neck is something out of this world. It really is. The Squire neck is not rubbish by any stretch of imagination. It's gorgeous. The finish on it is stunning. No fret sprout, no bad fret ends, no fret outs, no nothing. That neck is stunning, but I like that one more. And this is where I wish you were here. You could feel the difference, because you can really feel the difference. When I went from doing a comparison on the 62 and I went to the Squire, you can feel the difference. It really is kind of like substantially different. It's a very strange feeling. Anyway, so there we go. So that's a difference in feel. Like I say, tone-wise, I think they sounded tonally the same. You know what I mean? There was a little bit different. Like I say, the low end of the Squire seemed bigger than the 62. I think the 62 sounded a bit more even. Whereas the Squire had a bit more of a fatter low end. It kind of didn't run away with itself, which is really nice. The Squire's low end doesn't run away with it. It's not like massive and big. But, you know, it's really even, but that's more evener. That don't make any sense. Okay, so now to the elephant in the room. And I'm sure somebody would ask this if I don't address it in the video. So the elephant in the room is, why spend all the money on that then, if that one feels and sounds just as good for a fraction of the price? Okay, now this is where it's going to get all interesting. Because this guitar has something that this guitar doesn't have and won't have for a long time. And I don't, and as much as it's, and well, no, not as much, but, and it isn't to do with its age. Just because this guitar is 57 years old, that's not what makes this guitar special. It comes down to the life it's had. And it's kind of like had a lot of use. The original owner, Malcolm, played this guitar and loved it, and it was his best mate. He calls it his best mate. You know, and because of that, this guitar has had so much care and attention and love put into it that it does come out of it when you're near it and you feel it. You can feel it when you play it. It's been loved. The Squire hasn't had chance yet. It's a brand new guitar. It doesn't have that amount of energy put into it, whereas this guitar has got so much energy in it. You can feel it when you're near it, and when you play it, you can feel it even more. Like I say, Malcolm, the original owner, like I say, this was his best friend. He bought it in '63, and I bought it from him in 2017. And for that entire time, it was his best friend. And now it's my best friend. And this guitar will never leave me. It won't. I will never get rid of this guitar. And hopefully never this guitar either. I love this guitar as well. And it's not to do with age. It's not to do with how old the guitar is. Because I feel that's kind of... Because I've played old Strats. I've played another 62 Strat that was in mint condition, Fiesta Red. And it didn't have anywhere near the vibe this thing has. It just didn't feel good. It played badly. It felt clunky. The pickups were really not that great. It had no life. It belonged to John Entwistle of The Who, and it was a collector's piece. That's all that guitar was. And because it had never been played and loved, that guitar was sterile. It didn't have any vibe. It didn't make it. It wasn't really inspiring. It was okay. It was okay, but it didn't. I didn't understand the vintage guitar thing until I played a 1964 Fender Strat that came into Old Hat. Being surrounded by tons of vintage instruments in Old Hat day in, day out, I kind of got the vintage thing a bit, but it never hit me square in the face until I tried this 1964 three-tone sunburst Fender Stratocaster. As soon as I picked that thing up, as soon as I opened that case, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, whoa. And then I started playing it. I was like, that's it, isn't it? That's what makes these guitars special, is their life. And what made that guitar special was that 64 was a one-owner guitar. One guy had owned that guitar from new. He bought it in 64 and had played it every day until he couldn't play it anymore and had to sell it, which is absolutely... It broke my heart to hear it, to be honest, and it still breaks my heart now to think that that was his lifelong companion. And eventually he got to a point where he could no longer play. He could no longer play that guitar. He got to a point in his life, I think he had arthritis in his hand, and he just couldn't play it and had to sell it. And it's really, really upsetting. It really is upsetting. And and it's... And knowing its final fate makes it even more heartbreaking, because the wear on that guitar, it had this huge gouge here where he had picked. The plectrum wear was absolutely pitted out there. It had dents, the fretboard was pitted to the max. It was almost through the veneer. The rosewood veneer was almost gone through. You could almost see the maple board underneath. It had pretty much played through the fretboard. And it was all original apart from the tremolo arm, which he had to get a replacement tremolo arm at one point because I don't know why. I never found out why it wasn't an original trem arm. I don't know if he lost it or what, but either way. But this guitar had so much vibe about it, and it wasn't to do... Well, I suppose it is to do with its age, but it's not, because not all vintage guitars have that vibe, whereas this does, and that 64 did, and my friend Nick's 52 Les Paul has it, and my friend Richard's 63 Strat has it, and the 62 Hofner Verifin I've got downstairs has it as well. I reckon it's all to do with the life they've had. And if you know what it's done, if you kind of like know where it's been and what it's kind of done, and that guitar has been loved, you can feel that, and that's what gives vintage guitars a very special feel. Whereas a vintage guitar that's kind of mint condition has just been kept in like a cupboard its entire life and then just goes to a collector, they're not as special. They have a wow factor, but they're not as special as guitars like this, which have lived a life. The tremolo's not original. It's had 2 refrets. The finish isn't original. It's had some different wiring put in it. This middle tone pot is about knackered now. I'm starting to worry about this middle tone pot. It's starting to not work, and it's had a life, and because of that, it's got something about it. Whereas some of these other vintage instruments do not, And as I say, I didn't understand the vintage thing very much until that 64 Strat, and that 64 Strat was the turning point for me. And then when Malcolm bought this round the first time, and I was like, whoa, blown away. I mean, I played it. I only played it a little bit. I never played it for an amp. But when I borrowed it and plugged it in, I was like, that's it. It's there again. That's that feeling. And it's just scary. It is, as much as it pains me to say it, it is almost kind of like those once in a lifetime feelings, because I've only played a handful of vintage guitars that have this vibe, and I can name them on one hand. There's this 62, there's the 64, my friend Richard's 63, my friend Nick's 52 gold top, and there was a Gibson ES355 in old hat guitars, which from 1960, I want to say 65, but I think that's wrong, and that guitar had it as well, even more so than the very thin downstairs. But those 5 guitars are the ones that made me go, wow, I get the vintage thing, I really get it now. But anyway, and like I say, it is to do with their age, but it's not to do with their age, it's to do with the life they've had. For instance, like Malcolm, the original owner of this guitar, he bought this in 63, and he was in the Navy, so he bought this guitar, went to the ship, and shipped out. And the first place this landed, apart from England, was Australia. The first place this guitar went to was Australia, and it's been all around the world. It's been to the States, it's been to the US, it's been to Singapore, it's been to all over the world with Malcolm when he was in the Navy. And then when he came out of the Navy, it kind of went into storage for a while, and then when it came out again, and he gigged around the UK with this guitar during the 80s and the 90s, and then I bought it off in 2017. And because I know the life it's had, and you can feel the life it's had, even if you don't know, it's really special. It's really special, and the Squire doesn't have that. And new guitars don't have that. It's a very, very odd feeling. And it's a very, very nice feeling. But it's really hard to put into words. So that's the reason why this guitar has one up on this. And that's the reason why I bought this guitar with the help of, you know, some of you awesome people out there. Is because this has something that this won't have. Or might never have. You know, it might not survive as long. You know what I mean? And also some of the other guitars, you know, they might never have this vibe, even if they're 57 years old or whatever. You know, because some vintage guitars do not have that. It's a very strange thing. It really is a very strange thing. And it's really hard to put into words, and I've got hiccups. And it's one of those things you have to experience. And I wish you were all here to experience it, because it'd be so much easier for me to explain it if you were. I could just give you this guitar and then give you this guitar, and you'd be able to kind of like, you know, you know what I mean? But then again, saying that, some people might not. People might go, well, actually, I prefer the Squire. You know what I mean? Which is totally valid as well. Not, you know, the way I feel about this guitar isn't necessarily the way somebody else will feel about this guitar. But knowing Malcolm, the original owner of this guitar, knowing his life and where this guitar's been, and because it was his best friend for all those years, makes this guitar really vibey and special. And it just exudes that love and care and attention that this guitar's had, whereas this guitar doesn't have that. And when you pick this guitar up, you can feel that difference. You know what I mean? I love this guitar, but this guitar has a vibe, and it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to explain, but it's there. It's there. That Pedal Show did a video recently where they went to a vintage guitar dealership, and they played some old guitars, and they were kind of talking about this in that video, and I was like, I get it, but sadly, one thing that really guts me is that some people don't get the opportunity to play guitars like this, and as a result, they don't, you know, they might never get to know that. So, and that really upsets me. I don't, you know, everyone should have access to these kind of instruments. Everybody, which is one of the reasons why, you know, the price point on some of these things is a bit of a downer more than anything. You know, because it is a downer. You know what I mean? And you know, that is one of the reasons why this is so good, because this is a fraction of that. It doesn't have the vibe, it doesn't have the same feel, it doesn't have the life. This doesn't, nowhere near. But it still has something. It still has something, and that's that. And you know, at the end of the day, if you're gonna if you're going to go down to brass tacks, I'd say that's all that matters. But yeah, this guitar is something special. It really is something special, and I still can't believe it's there, actually, to be honest with you. It still blows my mind. Like I say, you know, it really... It just blows my mind. It really does. This guitar is a constant inspiration as well. Every time I pick up this guitar, something comes out of it. You know what I mean? It's one of those guitars that when you pick it up, something will always come out of it. You know, like, oh, where did that come from? You know, it really is one of those guitars. And not all guitars have that. Not all musical instruments have that. Just, you know, it's quite rare actually to find a guitar with that much kind of vibe in it. Anyway, I think I've waffled on enough about that. But like I say, if I ever get to do a meet and greet or a clinic video thing or something like that, where I get to meet all of you people in person, which I would love to do. It's just you know, unfortunately it's not on the cards at this point in time. But if I ever get to do something like that, this will be there. And yes, I want you to play it. You know, I mean, I don't like it. You know, having worked for somebody who didn't like his toys being played with, I don't like the idea of these guitars not being accessible to people. I want people to play this. I want people to enjoy it and make music with it, because that's what it's there for. You know what I mean? And it is really special. And I do love that guitar, absolutely ridiculously. And I do love it more than I love this guitar, but I still love this guitar. You know what I mean? But there is something that this has, and it is a vibe. And it isn't to do with age. It's its life. It's, you know, it's had an awesome life. And I'll tell you what. One day, what I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to talk to Malcolm about this. And if you're watching, Malcolm, this is a question. I'm gonna have to go to his house. I'm gonna have to like kind of do a little video with him explaining how he got this guitar, where he got this guitar, where it's been, what it's done, what they've done together, you know, what happened and this, that and the other. Because Malcolm's an awesome person. And I would love to do that video. So Malcolm, if you're watching, what say you to that idea? But anyway, but yeah, because this is his best friend, and now it's my best friend, it's always going to be more special than that. You know what I mean? It really is. This is up there with my White Strat. You know what I mean? It really is. This is up there with my Oswald and stuff like that. And, you know, anyway, I'm getting all gushy about my guitars. People of the tube, let me know in the comment section below which one you preferred and why. Was it the Squire? Was it the 62? Which one and why? The why is important. But like I said, I wish you were all here. You could be able to feel the difference. Like I say, hopefully you can kind of see the difference in the necks as well, because that's always something that gets me. Is like people always say vintage necks are really big. It's like, well, they're not. They're not all baseball bats. You know what I mean? That neck at the top end is so skinny. It's skinnier than this easily. Anyway, enough waffling. Yeah, I actually did an intro jam with... I don't know if I already spoke about this. I don't know. I've lost my train of thought already. I did an intro jam where I was going to start with the 62 and then change halfway through to the Squire, but I didn't end up using it. It's actually still sat there on my ditto loop and blinking at me. I can see it. So I'm going to do an outro jam with the Squire, and leave Mr. 62 on his stand, and then just do an outro jam with the Squire. So anyway, people of YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I haven't waffled on like a fool for 22 minutes. That's way too long, but I didn't feel like 22 minutes. I am so sorry, everybody. Oh my God. So I'm going to play some more music for you now, and hopefully you enjoy this. Like I say, this Squire Boy is absolutely unreal. I love this guitar so much. But like I say, it doesn't have the life that's got, and that's got a vibe. It's not its age, it's its life, and that makes it unreal. And that's what makes certain vintage guitars. That's the vintage guitar thing. It's, you know, they've got a life. If they hadn't had a life, it's not normally there. But anyway, enough waffling. Hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. It's not scientific, I know, and I've just talked for most of it, which is silly. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon for another one. Have a great Where are we now? I don't even know what day it is. Oh, it's Friday. Is it Friday? Yes, it's Friday. Oh, it's the heat. It's the heat. I'm getting delirious. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you again on Monday for another vid. And yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now. Let's play some Squire.